In this video, I'll be running through why MER is a terrible metric. You should not be holding a marketing agency accountable to it. You shouldn't be holding your internal team to it, and it shouldn't be a measure of the performance of paid media. By the end of this video, you should be very confident in what I just said, and you should have a new metric that you can go and use, as well as a few others that I'll throw in as well. So why is MER such a terrible KPI? And this is particularly for 8 to 9 figure businesses. It's also going to be applicable in the $3 to $10 million range, pending how much returning customer revenue you generate. So MER, for those that are completely on ground zero and have no idea what I'm talking about, is marketing efficiency ratio. Now, the denominator and numerator move around depending on who you're talking to, but generally speaking, the measure here is total net. And once again, even revenue definitions change person to person, but we're talking total net revenue divided by total advertising spend, inclusive of all paid media channels. Now, once again, this can flip and then you get a percentage figure. This definition changes a lot business to business. Some people are measuring total revenue inclusive of GST. Some people aren't including shipping collected because they're taking a net sale figure. So it changes a lot, but this is the general premise. Why is this such a bad metric? This is a terrible metric because it includes returning customer revenue. Now, what does returning customer revenue do? It has two negative impacts. Negative impact number one, if we look at time on the x-axis, and we look at returning customer revenue in dollar value on the y-axis, what's going to happen with most businesses is if this is January and this is December, you will have lumpy returning customer revenue. Even though your cohort growth looks consistent over time and you can use cohort extrapolation to get a more accurate answer as to what your returning customer revenue should be, reality is it's going to look something like this. You're going to see a spike in June. It's going to ramp up in Q4, and then it's going to have a massive drop off right at the end of December. Now, depending on the seasonality of your individual business, this could look better, this could look worse. But what is that going to do? Well, if we then go and take as an example new customer revenue and we underlie it here as well, so this is going to be total. This is going to be returning customer revenue. Let's go and put in new customer revenue here. New customer revenue might look something like this. Now, what's going to end up happening across the board is MER is going to look like it's in an incredible position in these periods right here. Reality is this is being cropped up by returning customer revenue, not new customer revenue, and you might actually go and acquire a bunch of customers here at a loss. And so the most common thing that I see in audits, I identify this for brands and I let them know, is that we will look at MER trailing over time. And so we will get a P&L view and we will look at MER and we will see every single month. So MER might be 2.0, then it's 2.2, then it's 2.6, then it's 2.4. And so these are separate months here. And then what we'll also do is we'll generate another column with acquisition MER. Now, acquisition MER is this same equation right here, but what we're doing is we're delineating net revenue down into just new customer net revenue. And so there's two primary reasons as to why we do that. Number one, the purpose of paid media spend is to drive new customer revenue, not total revenue. And number two is it gives you visibility into the profitability of acquisition, and it doesn't get masked by this returning customer revenue that might be coming from very old cohorts. And so once we do this, we might see the following, and honestly, we almost always see the following, is it looks something like this. It might look something like this. And then it might look something like this. And so if you're looking at MER, and this is your KPI for the efficiency of marketing spend, and this is what your agency is reporting to you on, and this is what you're looking at, well, you would go, January wasn't good, Feb was a little bit better, they really made some improvements in March, and then we saw some pullback in April. But if you look at new customer revenue, which is what is being driven by a paid media agency, that is the purpose of paid media spend for 90% of businesses, we're seeing flat, we're seeing a decline in March's efficiency, and then we're seeing April being the best month so far for the year. And so acquisition MER doesn't move in conjunction with MER because MER, particularly in brands that have really high returning customer revenue, ends up completely being indicated by returning customer revenue. And so how can you know if this is a big issue for you as a business? Go into the back end of Shopify and look at your percentage of returning customers. If this number is really greater than 20%, MER is not going to be a good metric for you because there is enough returning customer revenue to be able to push that MER number around over time and give you biased feedback loops on whether paid media is improving or worsening over time. Now, this gets really bad if you're in a position where this is above 60%. And I see this all the time. There are businesses that have been around for 4 to 6 years, so they've had a really large existing customer database build up to where a very large percentage of daily revenue comes from returning customers. And so then fluctuations in day-to-day, week-to-week, month-to-month, MER is completely indicative of returning customer revenue and has nothing to do with new customer acquisition. Now, this gets even worse. And the reason it gets even worse is because if you're in a position like this, the reason why MER becomes a really good metric for the finance team is because it allows you to have a predictable percentage allocation towards paid media spend over time that layers into your profit targets. And so the simplified view of the P&L, and absolute credit where it's due to Common Thread Collective for coming up with this idea, which they call 4-quarter accounting, which is breaking the direct-to-consumer P&L down into a cost of delivery percentage, a marketing percentage, then an operating expense percentage, and then you're left with your net profit at the end of the day down here, which is the remaining percentage points on the P&L. Now, cost of delivery remains pretty stable over time. Operating expenses with a good operator should stay relatively stable over time. And so then as long as you can maintain a fix in your MER or your percentage allocation towards marketing over time, you can guarantee consistent net profitability. And so that is why finance people love MER. That's why you as an operator should love MER as well. This is something that you should track. You should have this within your dashboard. You should know what this is on a week-to-week and a month-on-month basis. It's a great metric. It's not a great metric for indexing the ROI of paid media spend. It's a great metric for keeping your P&L in check, but not for saying whether we're doing a good job on paid media or not. And the reason for this, let's go into this example right here, is that this business might have a very high cost of delivery. Okay, maybe they have poor gross margin, so their cost of delivery as a percentage equals, let's say, 60% all up. Well, that means that your break-even ROI, your break-even ROAS, assuming ROAS is directly attributed with accuracy. So your break-even ROAS sits at a 2.5 here, which means that if you're operating at a 2.5 return, you will break even. You will make no contribution dollars, but you will acquire these customers at $0 in first purchase profit contribution, which might be fine if you have really good retention. It might be a very bad position if you don't have good cohort lift or you're not in the right vertical in terms of product lines to be able to get that returning customer revenue. Now, this example right here, let's continue with this thinking. That means that every single month here, they've been losing money on acquisition. But they might think that they're profitable or close to profitability because they're indexing this break-even ROAS based on an MER target. And so they're going, well, our break-even MER is a 2.5. Incorrect. Your break-even acquisition MER is a 2.5 on acquisition. Your break-even MER in terms of the total business sure is 2.5, but you don't want to be indexing based on the business because the business model that you're running here is a loss on acquisition and then recouping that on returning customers. And so you're ultimately relying on second, third purchase to even drive profitability into the business. If you're doing that model and then you're just continuing to increase spend in conjunction with an arbitrary MER target, then you end up completely defeating the whole purpose of the acquisition model. I'll layer in one more metric that's very helpful, but I don't say it much because it's hard to calculate, which is that what you really want to know when you're looking at paid media spend is, are we making money or are we losing money on acquisition? And there are really 3 different ways that you can calculate this. We measure all of them for all audits that we do, all clients that we work with. Number 1, acquisition MER. So what we've just gone through for the majority of this video. Number 2 is going to be dollar contribution margin 3 on the first-time customer P&L. So you need to generate a P&L, and you need to refine all of the revenue, all of the cost of goods, everything down to just first-time customer orders. And then number 3, you want to look at 30-day or 0-day. It's really up to you how you want to define the model. 30-day LTGP to CAC. And so you need to calculate your cost to acquire a customer. You need to calculate in real time your lifetime gross profit on an average first-time order. And this is then going to give you a figure, which is going to tell you, well, if it's greater than 1, you're profitable on acquisition. If it's less than 1, you're not. If you're between a 1 to a 2, you're in an okay, not great position, depending on your acquisition model and retention. And then 2 to 3 is an optimal zone. And so this is going to give you 3 different measures that are all telling you the exact same thing. It's just doing it in a different way. Okay, this is giving you a ratio number based on revenue. And so you're not actually able to delineate the profitability without then doing a side calculation on your gross margin or your cost of delivery. So this is a helpful metric, but it can't be standardized against other businesses because other businesses have different cost of delivery percentages. And so this will be purely for your reference and not to compare with any of your friends' businesses or anything you might see online. The next one is more comparable. This is looking at actual dollar profit, but this is looking across the entire P&L and not at an individual unit level or a ratio level. And so this is going to be more contextualized once again to the volume that you're doing. And then the last one, this is arguably the best of all 3 if your objective is comparison, because this allows you to do direct comparisons with any of your competitors, with anyone that exists, because you are actually delineating down to the profit level. And so this becomes an indexable metric to compare across all different niches. The only caveat I'll add there is that you need to change your time period in which you're measuring LTGP to CAC, because other business models will operate on a lower 30-day LTGP to CAC, but a considerably higher 90 to 180 day because they have incredible lift. A good example of this is subscription food. Okay, if you have meal delivery, you will have insane retention at month 3 to 6. And so you will want to re-index this when doing comparisons to other niches or other business models out to 180 day, potentially even 365 day. And so that is ultimately why MER is a terrible KPI for measuring the efficaciousness of paid media spend. Instead, you really at baseline want to be looking at acquisition MER. And if you want to go a step further, you can cut your P&L down into first-time customers and look at contribution margin 3, or you can go into LTGP to CAC ratios.